This is a video in defense of guys who play video games. If you'd like to skip the animation, please click the timestamp here.
Hello?
Hey babe, are you playing Deep Space Waifu again?
No.
You know, I run a magazine that keyboard plastic shrinks your penis down to the size of a needle. One day you're gonna be playing vinyl records with it in between fucking cicadas.
How would you even know that?
Well, actually, it also says that the more video games you play, the more soy goes to your endocrine system. And the next thing you know, you'll be allergic to job applications and smoke so much weed that you'll lose motivation to create anything with your hands except for a pile of unused semen.
Video games are often misunderstood. In recent times, self-improvement YouTube notably hasn't been too fond of us.
I feel nothing but disappointment in the young men that I see who waste time in the virtual world instead of real life because there is no excuses anymore.
Often painting us gamers as having been deracinated by the evil virtual world, sitting in a lonely, unkempt corner in our mom's basements, maybe with an open bag of Doritos as we indulge in the escape of said world. We don't have the most noble image in the minds of those who, unlike us, haven't truly found that je ne sais quoi, that mysterious appeal of gaming. And it's not just the escape they provide, it's also how they define our childhoods and leave an impact on us later on in life. And today I'm here to make a defense for why I will always love video games till the end of my days. And if people hate me for it, so be it. Like Gray Fox from Metal Gear says, at least I'll always have fought for what I believed in. For me, it all started years ago. In fact, long before I was born during my father's youth in the year of our Lord, 1986, the early golden era of Nintendo. The time when Atari screwed up so badly with the disastrous release of E.T. for the Atari 2600 that it started the famous video game crash of 1983. The time when Nintendo picked up the pieces of a shattered market to revolutionize how popular culture would see gaming and realize what it could be. From Street Fighter, Crazy Taxi, Resident Evil 2, Star Wars for the SNES, my dad would play music from that era on his old loudspeakers when I was a kid, show me the strategy guides from old Nintendo Power magazines, the art books of numerous games, all while asserting to me that games were a new kind of misunderstood art. And to my opponents in the audience, you may be thinking that it sounds a little bit like a waste of time, but video games were only one of his many hobbies. My dad was always fond of working out, undertaking artistic projects of his own, and using video games as a sort of visual inspiration. This way of thinking had a great influence on me as I became a gamer myself. He used to go into the basement and dust off his old Dreamcast to play Sonic the Hedgehog. Other times it would be his NES to play Mega Man 2, or even Metal Gear. I can name so many: Super Mario Bros., Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire for the N64, or Super Metroid and A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo, and even Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation 1. In my youth, every other night from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, my dad and I would sit down at the tip of my bed and play a game for an hour or two, as he and I would discuss the music, the art direction, and the other visual aspects of that game that we liked. Of course, I also got to vicariously experience some of his childhood frustration while I watched him, like when playing a game such as Ghosts and Goblins. According to him, back in the 1980s when he was in elementary school, he would get so angry at this particular game, he'd whip his NES controller across the room in frustration. And honestly, anyone who's never tried beating this game should just check out what the Angry Video Game Nerd has to say about it. Ghosts and Goblins presents a rather cruel twist. Upon reaching its final level, the game reveals that everything you've accomplished so far was merely a dream, prompting you to replay each level from the beginning to confront the last boss. Nowadays, such a design would likely garner a flood of negative reviews. But I digress. Let's pivot to another game we both enjoyed, Metal Gear Solid. It was akin to a cinematic experience, meticulously crafted with intricate plot twists that only make sense upon revisiting the game a second time. You play as Solid Snake, a special operative brought out of retirement to find out more information concerning a doomsday weapon that has fallen into the hands of Snake's curious doppelganger. The game is a seamless admixture of cinematic thrills and high-quality gameplay, and moreover, Hideo Kojima, the man behind the helm of the series, never fails to surprise the audience with his plot twists and Easter eggs. As a medium, he, among others, has found a way to push it to its limits and give the player an experience unable to be had through other media. Just take Death Stranding, for example, another game which has surprisingly polarized audiences. Anyway, I've already showcased a segment of Metal Gear Solid 2 in a prior video, so feel free to check out the description if it piques your interest. My father's insight was that video games, like other forms of media, possess the power to stimulate thought and even influence real-world action. This is why we immerse ourselves in literature, art, and media, to explore and enact ideas in a captivating dance with the creator. They inspire, provide escapism, and sometimes even frustrate, yet ultimately they serve as a conduit for our emotions and intellect. I vividly recall a peculiar day during my adolescence, around 16 or 17, when I grappled with the absurdity of adulthood for the first time. The human experience seemed increasingly enigmatic and illogical, rendering it challenging to grasp as I mulled over its intricacies. One day I spontaneously dialed my father's number while he was at work, seeking out his perspective, and as he listened, he recounted a similar moment from his youth, one intertwined with gaming. He told me that in high school he found himself engrossed in Metroid on the NES. The game thrusts players into the role of Samus Aran, an intergalactic bounty hunter tasked with thwarting evil on the planet Zebes. Its sci-fi setting, haunting soundtrack, and sense of isolation amidst extraterrestrial adversaries ignited a profound introspection within him. He realized the inherent absurdity and nonsensical nature of existence, recognizing humanity as a mere species of evolved primates inhabiting a tiny speck in the vast expanse of space. Perhaps he could have had a similar revelation through films like Alien, Star Wars, or Star Trek, but the game nevertheless left an indelible mark, shaping his worldview forever. Video games, he emphasized, offer a unique platform for internal dialogue, and with that, let's delve further into this exploration about the mysteriousness of video games. Not to derail the video, but if you'd like to support me, I made a Patreon page. $1 a month will get your name listed in my videos, immortalizing your gratitude. Anyway, moving on. Chapter 0, The Case to Make. Unfortunately, the self-improvement sphere of YouTube often carries a somewhat narcissistic undertone, subtly shaming individuals for finding joy in anything, especially video games, which have become a primary target due to the perception that they distract us from real life. However, what defines a successful life varies greatly from person to person. While some may prioritize material wealth, others may find fulfillment in mastering a skill. Yet self-improvement advocates seem to overlook that those who create entertainment are often passionate consumers of entertainment themselves. After all, if art is a form of communication, we can look at it almost as an exchange or representation of ideas, a conversation that influence the creator. But if games are a waste of time in all of this, I would personally argue that the artist's luscious mind, otherwise nurtured by the ideas of things he loves, would slowly become a barren desert, lacking any source of inspiration. Art forms, including video games, have a unique ability to inspire across disciplines, motivating some to draw, others to compose music, and even prompting individuals to learn programming. Critics of gaming may dismiss its benefits, such as improved hand-eye coordination. But ultimately, the value of entertainment lies in personal preference and what one derives from it. Video games, when approached thoughtfully, are no different from books or movies in their capacity to provide leisure and enrichment. Consider this. Is strolling through an art museum a waste of time if it doesn't resonate with somebody? Similarly, listening to music on your bed may not seem productive to some, yet for others, it sparks the fire of creative inspiration and serves as a catalyst for their own artistic endeavors down the line. Hobbies are a deeply personal experience, and what may be a harmless pastime for one individual could be potentially detrimental for another. As for myself, I may not fit the conventional image of masculinity, but I've always sought to compensate with compassion, despite my imperfections. If some choose to vilify me for this stance, as evident in some of the videos we can find on YouTube, so be it. But I'll always stand up for video games in the end, because they act as a great creative source of inspiration. While we're on the topic, the same argument can be made for YouTube itself. Spending excessive time watching videos can indeed be a waste of time. Perhaps instead of indulging in this lengthy video essay, I should shut my laptop and hit the gym, or maybe dedicate these hours to watching insightful business tutorials to enhance my marketing skills and sell my soul, or simply tidy up my room. It's a valid point to consider, right? However, my passion lies in writing about social issues and connecting with like-minded individuals who, like me, may have felt isolated growing up. This passion has led me to YouTube, where I found a vibrant community of individuals who share similar interests and engage in a healthy discourse. Through this platform, I've even had the fortune of befriending McLuhanism, to whom I highly recommend subscribing, by the way. We often meet up for drinks to discuss a wide array of topics, from philosophy to politics to art. And that's all thanks to me being a nerd and liking games, wishing to communicate with other people. As long as these interests aren't harmful, individuals should be free to pursue them without judgment. It's more or less crucial to strike a balance in life, to know when to go out, when to dedicate time to self-improvement, and when to simply unwind and enjoy a few hours of gaming on a Friday night. Again, I'm here to remind everybody that it's okay to have fun and indulge in activities that bring joy, including video games. As someone whose life has been significantly shaped by the art, music, and storytelling found in them, I don't want to let the self-improvement rhetoric paint them in a negative light. Video games are not just for quote-unquote losers. They can be an amazing source of creativity, inspiration, and genuine enjoyment. Chapter 1. Video games inspire artists. Since this is my channel, I'm going to make this personal to me. It's widely known that The Legend of Zelda holds a special place in my heart, standing as one of my all-time favorite video game series. Breath of the Wild, in particular, captivates me with its unparalleled art direction, igniting my desire to paint and craft my own imaginative worlds. Just take a moment to soak in the breathtaking environments of this game. It's a euphoric experience, one that inspires me to embrace the vibrant colors and cherish the beauty around me. The Legend of Zelda franchise, spanning 29 games since its inception in 1986, has left an indelible mark on millions worldwide, each installment offering unique stories, art styles, and music. Skyward Sword's art direction, for instance, draws direct inspiration from the French Impressionists, most notably the work of Paul Cézanne, while Ocarina of Time's iconic soundtrack has quietly permeated social media and popular culture. But more on that later. It's not just about the graphics of the game, though. Ocarina of Times are pretty good, at the time, though they were groundbreaking in their own right. These games are a profound source of creative inspiration for me. I've poured my adoration for Zelda into countless miniature comics over the years, my love for the series fueling my artistic endeavors. Even though I may not feel I've reached my full potential as a visual artist, the visual storytelling of these games has been a constant muse since childhood, guiding my hand every time I pick up a pencil. Wind Waker remains one of my favorite games of all time, thanks to its luscious color palette, brilliant music, and immersive world. The simple thought of exploring the Great Sea again, what with that triumphant music in the background, never fails to lift my spirits. Without games like this, my artistic journey wouldn't be the same. But enough about Zelda for now. Let's delve into the captivating artistry of Metal Gear Solid. Yoji Shinkawa, born in 1971 in Hiroshima, is the visionary behind the game's character design, boasting one of the most distinctive art styles in gaming history. Unlike other AAA games of its time, Metal Gear Solid embraces an art for art's sake philosophy. I don't mean to put down other games, as I think the skills necessary to create concept art for projects such as The Last of Us, Fallout, and even Uncharted are all beautifully done and necessary to translate from the 2D world into the 3D world. But in the days when PS1 graphics looked like this, artists had a bit more leeway in what a character could look like on paper before making the jump into said 3D world. Shinkawa's work is immediately recognizable, fusing traditional Japanese brushwork with technical precision in a very mesmerizing way, especially considering the limitations of a medium that you cannot erase. As a draftsman myself, years after beating Metal Gear Solid countless times, every time I see Shinkawa's work either in-game or the art books I've collected over the years, I feel the motivation to challenge myself, to push the boundaries of my own artistic expression. Drawing demands far more abstract information and brainpower than one might initially think, as every day I put a pencil to paper, I grapple with the challenge of translating the images in my mind into a visual language that others can understand. And I go back specifically to playing Metal Gear Solid for both its gameplay and the artistic direction led by Shinkawa. I don't mean to ramble too much about a particular game artist. However, his work draws from a deep well of knowledge while remaining in a modern aesthetic worthy of art history level discussion. His style reminds me of Egon Schiele, renowned for his anatomical precision and expressive lines in the early 20th century. While Schiele and Shinkawa operate in vastly different contexts, their work shares a meticulous precision, and this comparison underscores the idea that creating video games is akin to creating new worlds, a task requiring immense creativity. When effectively used, games can inspire and transport minds to places they might not otherwise reach. Gaming isn't just about mindless play. It's also about immersing oneself in the artist's vision, whether through digital art, 3D modeling, coding, storytelling, or even marketing. There's an inherent artistic value that deserves recognition. The meticulous attention to detail in every aspect of game design, from environments to character designs, stands as a testament to the power of imagination, making games a profound vehicle for artistic expression. I can't stress enough, it's perfectly fine to enjoy something and feel a deep connection to it. One of the key points I want to advocate in this essay is for the viewer to consider video games as an active medium that encourages thoughtful engagement. From the vibrant colors of The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, which inspires me to paint, to the profound discussions on the nature of truth in Metal Gear Solid, in the haunting atmosphere of Metroid that evokes feelings of alienation. These virtual worlds provide a temporary sanctuary for our minds. They offer a chance for us to see the world from different perspectives. I mean, isn't it remarkable how video games have the power to inspire us to create worlds of our own? For those driven by inner motivation, the subculture surrounding gaming fosters a community of creators who continually push the boundaries of what's possible via things such as fan art. This community, fueled by a shared passion, exemplifies the transformative potential of video games as a medium for creative expression and innovation. Chapter 2. The Music. I'll preface this by admitting my strong Nintendo bias, and most of the discussion will revolve around games with which I'm most familiar. So get ready for more Mario and Zelda references, and also feel free to fit in whichever games you hold closest to your heart. When it comes to personal inspiration, I believe all answers are valid. Because while I focus on Nintendo, I must acknowledge the distinct styles of other game developers. Let's start with a quick listen to this melody from Super Mario 64, the 1996 classic that many of you probably already know. Titled Inside the Castle Walls, it's the first tune that greets the players stepping through that castle door. As you're met with this enchanting theme, it marks the beginning of a memorable childhood adventure. Even now, I catch myself humming its tune long after a gaming session. If a melody is strong enough to linger in your mind years after the fact, who's to say that its original medium quantifies its cultural relevance? Super Mario 64 has been such a cultural phenomenon that it's become the game of internet discourse. Beyond countless video essays, people now use its soundboard to create covers of songs by artists like the Foo Fighters and Radiohead. Just give this a listen. Some videos regarding Super Mario 64 and pop culture are simpler, yet equally captivating. About a month ago, while doom scrolling, I stumbled upon a video titled A Moment, which was a brief 3-minute clip of Mario staring off of a broken bridge in Cool Mountain with some Mario Galaxy music playing in the background. It was deceptively simple, but sitting there with Mario for a moment, accompanied by this evocative music, was strangely charming and kept me engaged for the full 3 minutes. YouTube is filled with videos like this, both funny and strange, showing how Mario 64 continues to inspire creativity. That same era of Nintendo games bestowed upon us other masterpieces like Ocarina of Time. Its opening track remains a pinnacle in gaming history, frequently referenced by other YouTube essayists. While Mozart, Beethoven, the Beatles, and Queen might dominate discussions of musical icons, the genius behind these tracks is none other than the legendary Koji Kondo. His influence on the industry is profound, defining a generation much like other great musicians of their time. If you don't know who Koji Kondo is, just listen to this. Kondo's compositions are renowned for instantly captivating players, usually enhancing the gaming experience much more than if the music were not present. Titles like Majora's Mask boast not only rich atmospheres and vibrant visuals, but also unforgettable themes that stick with you forever. It's quite unbelievable to think that a medium often scorned by non-players holds so many artistic gems that many will never hear because of the stigma. It's a perplexing paradox how gamers are viewed as lazy, good-for-nothings when the subculture itself is full of art and music that gradually seeps into popular culture and is eventually appreciated by both gamers and non-gamers alike. There's an amazing pianist named Tom Breyer who gained fame for sight-reading Mario and Zelda classics without knowing the original music himself. When you hear a traditionally trained ragtime pianist put his twist on these memorable tunes, it becomes clear that Koji Kondo wasn't approaching melody or song structure much differently from other great composers, despite their different contexts. As a musician myself, I often find solace in revisiting these soundtracks, appreciating their artistic depth, and watching Breyer play. You see a man who knows little about internet and gaming culture, yet plays with such skill that it highlights the integrity of the melodies themselves. If we can go back full circle, reflecting on my dad's nostalgia again, 80s classics like Mega Man 2 and DuckTales also boast their own magical tunes in pure 8-bit glory. That's the other thing about games, by the way, is that the experience with them eventually becomes personal to you, and I don't want anyone to feel shame for identifying with the artwork, music, or general vibe of a game just because of a short-sighted social stigma. I can envision my dad and other gamers of the 80s immersed in these games when analog TV was still mainstream, while these soundtracks slowly but surely became as ingrained in their memories as games like Ocarina of Time did for modern gamers like us today. And while I can't delve into every musical piece in the history of gaming, I'd like to highlight a few iconic tracks that, in my view, as well as my father's, define the zeitgeist of gaming music for their respective times. So for the remainder of the chapter, take a listen and recall that this was all born from the brilliance of the gaming world. If self-improvement YouTubers still continue to hate me for this, fine, be my guest. But I'll take inspiration from this any day, because it makes me happy. It makes me want to create something similar to that which originally inspired me. Number 3, entertainment is not a sin. If we're expected to feel guilty about sitting down with a controller because it's not considered productive, then shouldn't all forms of passive entertainment be subject to the same scrutiny? The prevailing argument suggests that we could be spending our time reading dense books, which may offer profound insight and allow us to engage with the content at our own pace. However, reading a book solely because it's deemed beneficial by others isn't necessarily compelling. If someone hands you a book on quantum physics, but you're passionate about art history, the information might not align with your interests or goals. But sure, expanding our knowledge is valuable. However, it's crucial to consider our personal aspirations and where we want to be in the future. What do we truly want to learn? Do we seek inspiration from fantasy novels? Or are we driven to understand brokerage firms and economics to enhance our financial acumen? Context matters. I obviously think going to the gym is a great idea, though I also believe entertainment tells us more about who we are, and maybe it could guide us down our desired and/or needed path. There's little arguments against the act of learning itself, but knowing what we want to learn and developing the skills to contextualize that knowledge is paramount in pursuing our dreams. The quality of engagement with any form of media hinges on our intentions. Some may read novels to fuel their own creativity, while others play video games to analyze their design elements, storytelling techniques, or even to delve into programming for all I know. Movies on the surface demand little effort from the audience. We simply immerse ourselves in the experience from one scene to the next until the credits roll. However, that doesn't mean we can't actively engage with films, seeking out Easter eggs and symbolism that provoke deeper thought. In this sense, one could argue that video games, with their interactive nature, offer a more active form of entertainment. But let's not discount the potential for active engagement in film, where attentive viewers can uncover layers of meaning and nuance. But we're not here to discuss film today. I recently watched a rather thought-provoking video by one of those forsaken self-improvement YouTubers. Nah, just kidding, one to whose videos I've actually taken a liking. His channel goes by the name of Better Ideas, who spoke about the difference between passive and active watching. Active engagement, in my own case, works well because it puts my brain into a mode in which I'm constantly searching for little motifs, symbols, and Easter eggs, which may spark new ideas. Other people may just want to enjoy themselves for a brief moment to escape from life, and that's fine too. You don't need to justify how you want to live your life to anyone but yourself. While a lot of this essay is in defense of games, it's also a defense of the need for entertainment. You don't need a constant and active work schedule to live a fulfilling life, as some may claim. Turning back the clock to a vivid memory, I recall a profound moment shared with a talented artist friend in the studio. On that really random day, amidst my lamentations about the constraints of adult life limiting my time for creativity, I expressed my desire to devote every waking moment to perfecting my craft and realizing the visions in my mind. In response, my friend smiled and imparted some wise advice that has stayed with me ever since. He said, "If you're constantly immersed in work without taking the time to explore what you don't know, eventually you'll find yourself stagnating, marinating in old ideas, and watching your creative spark dim. Art is about life, about living. To create, you need to experience the world, draw inspiration from it, and engage with other people. Mindless grind won't suffice. Inspiration can be found anywhere, in conversations, in art, in entertainment. Creations are born from ideas, and if art in any form nurtures your soul and stimulates the mind, who has the right to dictate what medium is most effective for you? Video games certainly fit that criteria, and I'll defend their value without hesitation to the end. Everyone finds their own path to feeling productive and happy, and that can mean pursuing various goals, like getting fit or mastering computer programming. Each goal requires different methods and sources of inspiration. So, to those who focus on physical fitness, I only ask that you understand and support those who prefer quieter, more intellectual pursuits. And just to expound on that, I don't think anyone is inherently less intelligent for prioritizing physical fitness. I would actually say both are equally important, considering the old Greek maxim by the pre-Socratic philosopher Thales, who said, a sound mind in a sound body, which stresses the importance of staying in shape while also training the mind with the same level of tenacity. Criticizing video games as a waste of time, in my opinion, is unfair, as they can be both entertainment and art that inspires. You can actively engage with games, analyzing their deeper meanings, or simply use them to unwind when necessary. The toxic part of self-improvement makes it seem like if every man does not in fact make the effort to become the greatest human who ever lived by looks maxing, mewing, going to the gym, or reading 20 books by some obscure business guru, then you're nothing but a pathetic excuse for a man. Of course, teenagers can be credulous, so with their growth in mind, I say to the self-improvement bros, if it inspires you to take action, if you can feel good about yourself by trusting your instinct in what you do, provided you're not a psychopath or something, that's enough to do it. I'll likely be playing Zelda games until the day I die so that I can feel the music, get inspired to pick up a pencil and draw, or just experience a world different from the one I see daily. Books create an imagined world. Maybe I'll pick up The Lord of the Rings again this year. Painting creates a visual one. Video games create an interactive one. To me, it's all the same, and how you justify your time is your business. Just know how you want your life to be, have intentions when you do it, and that should be enough to tell anyone who thinks otherwise to take a hike. Number 4, Testaments. The internet is this beautiful, sometimes ugly, but endless place where you can find pretty much all types of nerds across it. Minecraft has its own world, so does Fortnite. Sadly, I play neither and don't really understand the appeal on a personal level, but I am aware that someone like Mr. Beast was also a Minecraft player, and look at that guy. Clearly something about its culture inspired him to participate in that online community, and yet he's still one of the most successful people who has ever lived. Moreover, there are plenty of retro games on the net popular enough for thousands of other YouTubers just like me to want to write and share their experience in their communities. There's this unique kind of nostalgia I feel when I hear someone else speak of similar experiences to my own when coupled with some good music in the background. The creators and programmers of these games made worlds for us to experience. Those spaces forever have a part in our minds. Those giving games a bad rep don't recognize that they're not just mindless activities where someone picks up the controller to pass the time. It's truly a window into a different ideal, and sometimes that ideal, that representation, is so powerful that we all want to remember it, engage with it, and talk about it, birthing communities of all sorts. I can't tell you the amount of times I've put on something like King K or Liam Triforce because I want to re-experience the art through someone else's perspective. Even here on the channel, I've met some of my latest pals thanks to having shared my passions online for all to hear, and I would recommend anyone brave enough to put himself out there to try it out. While we're on the topic, I had the pleasure of getting some opinions directly from my Discord, which by the way you should join. Let's see what they had to say. Definitely some video games have shaped me a lot and given me some of the values I hold today. Games have gotten me out of lots of rough patches, and even right now one is. They've helped me connect with people and share deep memories with my friends. I remember playing Minecraft with my friends when I was 12 having the best time because we were just having fun building stuff. Video games have been able to fit into every spot of my life. I like video games because they're fun, a means to express people's creativity as artists, with that love put in reflected via the quality of said products. Unlike any other media that we consume, it isn't just watching and feeling, it's interacting, and it's that interaction which makes video games as fun as they are. Grand Theft Auto Vice City was hugely impactful on my years back in 2002. Back then, I was only playing piano, boogie woogie and honky tonk style stuff, but VC soundtrack is all 80s music and introduced so many great sounds and music to me. That game may have been the catalyst for me becoming interested in synths. This is the only one game that had a huge impact on me. I have a lot of fond memories of playing them with my dad, specifically Zelda, Twilight Princess, and other Zelda games when I was a small kid. I don't really remember how to play them, and it really didn't spark my interest in them, but it gave me and my dad a chance to bond together over something we could both do and have common ground. My dad was a busy guy, and he tried his best to spend time with me, so by teaching him how to play this and making me watch, I got the time I wouldn't have otherwise had with my dad, which I'm always grateful for. I like video games because they have inspired me to learn more. I feel that many video games, especially role-playing games, convey themes and messages that I resonate with greatly, so I would say that they continue to be a source of entertainment and learning for me. In addition, the complex stories and characters that are present in many video games continue to fascinate me to this day. So it seems that many people who enjoy the same kind of games as me have similar fond memories that ended up shaping their experiences. If you can trust your gut to make good decisions with yourself, it doesn't matter the type of entertainment. What matters is whether or not it's impeding you from doing what you should be. Number 5, you can learn a language. I normally don't like to talk about it, since YouTubers often flaunt their multilingual prowess, but depending on how you look at this, I am technically trilingual, having learned French and Japanese by living in their respective countries and maintaining a creative, fun learning schedule in my free time. Both journeys were significantly facilitated by the immersive experiences of none other than video games. That's right! Engaging with games rich in dialogue subtly expose you to a multitude of language intricacies in real time. This became especially apparent in adventure titles such as Uncharted. I remember switching my 3DS to French when I decided to play old games. And interestingly, I found it much more effective than my high school classes. Seriously, if any of you are still in school, put your games in the languages you're currently studying, and you'll see results with enough discipline. It's like killing two birds with one stone, a bit of relaxation while still benefiting from some time with games. For example, in high school, my afternoons after class were often spent in a dilemma between French homework and the beckoning allure of Uncharted 2. Instead of laboring over conjugation sheets, I indulged by switching Uncharted's game language to French, getting occasional laughs at Nathan Drake's sarcastic remarks. And surprisingly, this yielded an unexpected bounty of colloquial expressions I wouldn't have otherwise learned in class. While conventional French knowledge dictates that il fait froid means it's cold, Uncharted introduced me to the more colorful expression ça caille, which is akin to saying I'm freezing my balls off. Learning about those idioms instilled a sense of achievement alongside the sheer enjoyment of gaming, which eventually extended to my Japanese language pursuits years later, particularly as I embarked on adventures like Breath of the Wild. Now, I found Metal Gear Solid especially useful because I had played it so many times that once I started the Japanese version, the familiarity made the experience easier than starting a new game from scratch. If you have a game heavy in dialogue that you know well, I recommend trying it in a different language. At first, maybe you won't understand much, but if you keep a notebook nearby to take notes, after the first few hours of gameplay, it starts feeling like second nature, because even though you don't understand the language perfectly, you know what's going on. It's as if you're living in that language enough to become comfortable using it in the real world, because there's in-game dialogue that represents the language used in that country. These days, I primarily engage with games in English, my first language. However, leveraging them to hone my language skills has been one of the best discoveries over the years, offering dual benefits of relaxation and learning. Conclusion. The perception of video games as mere distractions or frivolous pastimes is a gross oversimplification of their true value. Self-improvement rhetoric often unfairly demonizes gaming, overlooking its potential for inspiration, creativity, and even education. As individuals, we each have unique aspirations and interests, and what may seem like a waste of time to some can be a profound source of fulfillment and growth for others. The richness of the gaming experience lies not only in its entertainment value, but also in its ability to inspire artists, musicians, and language learners. From iconic melodies of games like Super Mario 64 and The Legend of Zelda to the intricate designs of Metal Gear Solid, video games offer a wealth of creative stimulation. Moreover, the immersive nature of gaming can facilitate language learning, providing a fun and interactive way to engage with new languages and cultures. Critics often fail to recognize the vibrant communities and subcultures that thrive within the gaming world, whether it's sharing nostalgic moments of childhood favorites or collaborating on creative projects inspired by beloved games. Gamers find connection and camaraderie in their shared passion. Ultimately, how we choose to spend our leisure time should be a personal decision, free from judgment or scrutiny. Whether it's through gaming, reading, or pursuing other hobbies, the key is to find joy and fulfillment in our pursuits. As long as we approach our interests with intentionality and mindfulness, there's no reason to feel guilty about indulging in the things that bring us happiness. So let's embrace the diverse ways in which we find inspiration and enrichment, knowing that each path is valid and meaningful in its own right. I'm Tantris Humble, and thanks for watching.